Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanabala Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari His Divine Grace, HG Balarama Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so 7th Canto, The Science of God, Chapter 7, What Prahlad Learned in the Womb. Text 22. Ashtau Prakrityaha Proktas Traya Eva Hi Tad Gunaha Vikaraha Shodashtaryai Puman Ekaha Samanvayat Ashta Prakritya Proktas Taya Eva Hitad Gunaha Vikara Shodashtaryai Pumam Eka Samanvayat Ashta Prakritya Proktas Traya Eva Hitad Gunaha Vikara Shodashtaryai Pumam Eka Samanvayat Ashta Prakritya Proktas Traya Eva Hitad Gunaha Vikara Shodashtaryai Pumam Eka Samanvayat. Hare Krishna. Ashtau, 8. Prakritiyaha, material energies. Proktaha, it is said. Trayaha, 3. Eva, certainly. He, indeed. Tat gunaha, the modes of material energy. Ikara, transformations. Shodasha, 16. Acharyayi, by the authorities. Puman, the living entity. Ekaha, 1. Samanvayat, from conjunction. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord's 8 separated material energies, the 3 modes of material nature, and the 16 transformations, the 11 senses and the 5 gross material elements like earth and water. Within all these, the one spiritual soul exists as the observer. Therefore, all the great acharyas have concluded that the individual soul is conditioned by these material elements. Purport. As explained in the previous verse, Chaitreshu Deheshu Tatma-yogar adhyātma-vit brahmakatim labate. A spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particle exists within the body, and thus by cultivating spiritual knowledge he can attain perfection in spiritual life. The intelligent person who is expert in finding the self within the body must understand the 8 external energies, which are listed in Bhagavad Gita 7.4. Bhumir apat nalo vayu kammana buddha evacha hankara itiyam me bina prakriti ashtrada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Bhumi, earth, indicates all the objects of sense perception. Rupa, form. Rasa, taste. Gandha, smell. Shabda, sound. And sparsha, touch. Within the earth are the fragrance of roses, the taste of sweet fruit, and whatever else we want. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 110.4, Sarva Kama Duga Mahi, the earth, Mahi, contains all our requirements. Thus, the objects of sense perception are all present in Bhumi, or the earth. The gross material elements and subtle material elements, mind, intelligence, and ahankara, false ego, constitute the total material energy. Within the total material energy are the 3 material modes of qualities. These qualities, sattva-gun, rajagun, and tamagun, belong not to the soul but to the material energy. It is because of the interaction of these 3 material modes of nature that the 5 knowledge-gathering senses, the 5 working senses, and their controller, the mind, are manifested. Then, according to these modes, the living entity gets the opportunity to perform different types of karma with different types of knowledge, thinking, feeling, and willing. Thus, the bodily machine begins to work. This has all been properly analyzed in Sankhya Yoga by the great acharyas, especially by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna in his incarnation as Devahuti Putra Kapila. This is indicated here by the word acharya. We need not follow anyone who is not an authorized acharya. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One can understand the truth fully when he has taken shelter of an expert acharya. The living entity is individual, but the body is a composition of many material elements. This is proved by the fact that as soon as the living entity quits the combination of material elements, it becomes a mere conglomeration of matter. The matter is qualitatively one, and the spiritual soul is qualitatively one with the Supreme. The Supreme is one, and the individual soul is one, but the individual soul is understood to be the master of the individual combination of material energy, whereas the Supreme Lord is the controller of the total material energy. The living entity is the master of his particular body, and according to his activities, he is subjected to different types of pains and pleasures. However, although the Supreme Person, the Paramātmā, is also one, he is present as an individual in all the different bodies. The material energy is in fact divided into 24 elements. The individual soul, the owner of the individual body, is a 25th subject. And above everything is Lord Viṣṇu as Paramātmā, the supreme controller, who is the 26th subject. When one understands all of these 26 subjects, he becomes adhyātma-vit, an expert in understanding the distinction between matter and spirit. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 13:3, Chaitra Gayo Jnanam. Understanding of the Chaitra, the constitution of the body, and of the individual soul and the supersoul constitutes real jnana, or knowledge. Unless one ultimately understands that the Supreme Lord is eternally related with the individual soul, one's knowledge is imperfect. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bahunam janmanamante ganavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabhaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Everything material and spiritual consists of various energies of Vasudeva, to whom the individual soul, the spiritual part of the Supreme Lord, is subordinate. Upon understanding this perfect knowledge, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidavachalam Pangam Langate Grim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundiritaranam Vacha Kablidabhishcha Kripa Sindhabhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Lord's, one translation once again, the Lord's 8 separated material energies, the 3 modes of material nature, and the 16 transformations, the 11 senses, and the 5 gross material elements like earth and water. Within all these, the one spiritual soul exists as the observer. Therefore, all the great acharyas have concluded that the individual soul is conditioned by these material elements. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how the living entity can become covered by kama in different ways. Does anyone, maybe the younger devotees, remember the different examples he gives in relation to consciousness being covered? Yeah. Child in the womb. Yeah, child in the womb, mirror covered by dust, and fire covered by smoke. And what are the different, corresponding? All right. Yeah. So there's different degrees of covering. When someone's covered by the womb, an embryo covered by the womb, it's like helpless, right? And then there's dust covered by the mirror, dust covering the mirror, a mirror, and then the human being said to be like the smoke covering the fire, consciousness. So there's different levels of covering. So when we say Cheto Darpana Marjanam, okay, the heart needs to be cleansed. There's different levels of cleaning that needs to go on, right? There's light cleaning, there's mediocre cleaning, there's deep cleaning. So in material existence, everyone's practically their consciousness is covered by kama or by lust in different degrees. And when we say lust, it's not just referring to how generally people think of lust. I don't think anybody, if you mention the word lust nowadays, immediately people think of like sexual lust. That's what immediately people think of when you say lust. But it's referring to any material desire or any strong desire for something. So our consciousness is covered, and for somebody who's considered not intelligent, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who worship the demigods are considered less intelligent because they're driven by material lust, and they're going after temporary things. Now to worship the demigods, you could say, comparatively speaking, if you compare a demigod worshiper to somebody outside of the Vedic realm, if you want to call it that, outside of the realm of the Vedas, who are just trying to gratify their senses without any idea of higher authorities or prayer or anything like that. They are considered, you could say, more unintelligent than a demigod worshiper. They're even farther away or even more covered. So to bring somebody from the platform of, you could say, animal existence, in which they're just concerned with the gratification of their senses, of their body and mind, to bring someone to the platform of a self-realized soul, or God-realized soul, or somebody who's even desiring that, it's quite a challenge, actually. It's a challenge to do that. Now, of course, we don't say that, okay, from animal existence we have to then go to demigod worship, and then go to Krishna consciousness. But there is a progression that the soul needs to partake in. So if you analyze people, like if you analyze the present human race based on their activities, or based on their goals, their activities, their aspirations, we would consider them not intelligent. And the Bhagavatam would even go further to consider them to be like living an animalistic existence. So what does it mean to be intelligent? An intelligent person will, first of all, they will use their power of thinking to try to find out what is the truth. What is the best way to live, for example. And ultimately an intelligent person will not only investigate and try to find the truth, but they will actually engage in the process of God realization or self-realization. And in the 11th canto, says that those who are intelligent, what do? Yagyar Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. Those who are intelligent, they engage in the Sankirtan movement and hearing and chanting about Krishna. That's what intelligent people they do. And the thing about being intelligent is that one can rise from an animalistic platform or a platform of no intelligence, practically, or covered intelligence, to platforms of intelligence or platforms of real intelligence, which means engaging in the Sankirtan movement. But there's always a danger in material existence that one will become unintelligent again. One will fall back down into, you could say, being foolish. Yeah. There's always that danger. So therefore, it's not enough just to, you could say, be intelligent, search for the truth, and engage in the process of the Sankirtan movement, in an intelligent way, right? That's not enough, but one has to very intelligently guard one's devotional sentiments or devotional realizations so they don't become unintelligent again. So that guarding of our spiritual creeper, right? Brahmande Brahmate Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij, that the conditioned living entity is wandering from birth, cycle and birth and death, species to species, planet to planet. And by Krishna's mercy, by the mercy of Krishna, one comes into contact with the spiritual teacher, with the guru. And by that association with the guru, one comes in contact with Krishna. One becomes connected to Krishna. So that Bhakti Lata Bij, that seed growing in one's heart, it has to be watered, and it's watered by hearing and chanting about Krishna. That's the watering process. And one has to be careful that there's not that there's no weeds growing there. And the weeds are described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's so many things that look like Krishna consciousness, but they're actually not. Like, for example, someone may think, oh yes, I will make lots of money for Krishna, and then I will spend nicely for Krishna. But then they engage in making money, and then they don't spend for Krishna, and then they just keep on engaged in making money. And then in this way, they were thinking it was Krishna consciousness, but it was actually just a weed. And there's many examples like that. One may be doing something, but it's not really Krishna conscious, but they think it is, and then they're watering it, and it's becoming like a strong plant that's not going to produce the fruit of love of God. So hearing and chanting about Krishna in the association of devotees under the guidance of sadhus, saintly person, spiritual master, this will eventually, the fruit of love of God will fructify. But this plant has to be guarded. And what is the guard? Just like if you're a gardener, there's a small plant you make a fence around, so no animals come and eat the plant or stomp on the plant or whatever. So there's a fence that needs to be built around this plant. And the fence is the association of pure devotees that protects the plant, our devotional plant, creeper within our heart. And why is it that the pure devotees protect this plant? How is it? What do you think? By giving instruction, yes. By giving good association, specifically, they protect the plant because one of the main dangers for this plant is Vaishnava aparad. That means committing offenses towards Vaishnavas, which is considered a mad elephant, angry elephant. Angry elephant would just come in. I mean, very powerful. You can't stop them. You know, they'll kill many people very easily. Angry elephant. So, in hell they also have elephants. Fifth canto describes that. They're engaged in certain ways, punish your living entities. But so these mad elephants will come and easily destroy the plant. So, of course, it's an analogy, and but you need a fence, and the fence is the pure devotees, and they protect one from this elephant. I was thinking because analogy means it's an analogy. It's not absolutely perfect, because you think, well, how are pure devotees going to stop an elephant? I was thinking about that. What are they going to do? I mean, do the pure devotees have like a, very powerful, like a blow dart, very, poisonous blow dart that they shoot at the elephant's knocked down or something? But it's an analogy. But so the fence is the pure devotees, and they protect one from the mad elephant offense, and in the sense that they're not into criticizing or finding fault with or unnecessarily finding fault or offending devotees. So they protect us like that. In their association, it's hard for us to do that. And when we talk about hearing and chanting about Krishna, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he makes an interesting point that in that section of Chaitanya Charitamrita that if one doesn't try to give the offenses, because there's offensive chanting, there's clearing of offenses, trying to give the offenses, and then there's pure chanting. So he makes the point that if one doesn't try to give up the offenses towards the holy name of Krishna, then the chanting and hearing that one engages in will produce material desires. It's interesting. Because the hearing and chanting of Krishna, we want it to produce love of God. We don't want it to produce material desires. So there's a stress that on trying to give up the offenses. Therefore, every morning we're reciting the 10 offenses, right, to the holy name, with the idea that we're trying to give them up. And yeah, about this whole recitation, I mean, we recite things not out of, you could say, habit or out of duty or out of, there's a reason. So we're reciting those 10 offenses so we could keep them in our mind, in the sense that we want to be aware of what we need to give up. And all the other things we're reciting, there's reasons. So to be intelligent, okay, we search for the truth, we engage in the process, and then a very important part of being intelligent is to protect that creeper. And we would say that an unintelligent gardener, for example, they're out there and they just kill all the plants, right? They don't water them, they don't pick the weeds, they don't fence them off, they don't get enough sunlight. That's an unintelligent gardener. So yeah, we want to be intelligent in that way. It's very important. Because at one particular point, it's not about searching for the truth. You could say, okay, we found it. And at one particular point, we're engaging in the process, so it's like we know what the process is, we're engaging in it. So we have some sambandha, right? We have some knowledge. and in Abhideya, and we're engaging in the process. But at one particular point in a person's Krishna consciousness, they know what the process is, and now they're just engaging in it. So yeah, to be intelligent is to engage in it in a precise way. But nonetheless, there's all of these different things in the Srimad Bhagavatam, different points about the modes of material nature, the different external energies of Krishna, and knowledge-gathering senses, and 5 working senses, and the mind, and there's a lot going on in existence. There's karma, all of these different things. And these things have been analyzed by Kapiladev, Devahuti Putra Kapiladev, which Devahuti Putra's son, so it's a son of Devahuti, because there was another Kapiladev, atheistic Kapiladev. So therefore there's a distinction, Devahuti Putra, the son of Devahuti. And ultimately, how do we understand things in truth? Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One can understand the truth fully when he has taken shelter of an expert acharya. So one has to take shelter of a devotee of Krishna, of a spiritual master, and then they can understand things in truth. So take shelter of a spiritual master. One should tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadakshati te gyanam ganinas tattvadarshana. The tattvadarshi, they have seen the truth, so they could impart knowledge to you because they've seen the truth. And one should humbly approach that person, inquire, and do service in a very submissive way, and by that process, one will understand things in truth. So we're not into ourselves just figuring things out with the own power of our intelligence, or as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, don't try to measure the absolute truth with the measuring stick of your intelligence. And for people who are interested in truth, and for people who are searching, and for the people who come to Krishna consciousness and start engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness, and what to speak of someone who actually stays and intelligently gardens, becomes an intelligent gardener of their devotional creeper, it's very rare. And what to speak of attaining the goal, it's very rare. It's not something cheap, it's very rare. Rare means a lot of people, unfortunately, won't be interested, or they'll be interested in a very superficial way. They won't be interested in really going through the whole process. And that's the challenges we see in America, actually. So many people, they come and they show some interest, they take to the process, they chant Hare Krishna, they follow the 4 regular principles, become initiated, and then after 5 years, 10 years, at the most, they just disappear. And then you see them at the bar drinking, or they join the bowel movement or something. Bowel means the, owl's bowels, right? Some person actually was telling me, some devotee, he became initiated and everything, and then he joined that movement. He was going on tour with his guru. singer. Yeah, it's a deviant Vaishnav sect, or deviant, yeah, say a Vaishnav sect. So it's a bit challenging, and because if you think of like a lot of the times, because Indians have the culture and training, even if it wasn't perfect, but they have some sense of culture and training. So for them to fall down, it means they drink a cup of coffee and they watch some Bollywood movies, and but when their guru comes to town, they come and they offer obeisances and they give a donation, and they still keep a picture of Krishna in their house and maybe chant their rounds or whatever. That's their fall down. But with an American, a lot of the times when an American falls down, Americans tend to be very radical. They fall down into atheism, heavy-duty atheism, heavy-duty hedonism, and they start putting out all types of websites about Krishna consciousness and how it's bogus. So I'm bringing this up because it's rare to take to Krishna consciousness, and we're living in a place that historically, if you look within the last 20 years, it's a bit challenging for Americans to be steady in Krishna consciousness for whatever reasons. And how are you supposed to solve that? It's something that needs to be. You look at Ukraine, or you look at Russia, or if you look at India, or if you look at South America or Africa, or different places around the world, and the rate of devotees who actually stick around and really, continue chanting, continue after initiation. At least, I haven't done some study or something, some statistic, but just looking around at the different temples, it's quite rare for people, Americans, to be able to follow for whatever reasons. So you could say in some ways we're in a challenging place, America, and if you look at all the temples in America, mostly they're filled with Indian people. Most temples you go to, there's not a lot of local Americans joining. So, but although it's very rare, although it can seem to be difficult, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, by Lord Nityananda's mercy, people can take to Krishna consciousness, and people could stay, and we should try that. We should try for that. We shouldn't just, spirit souls are in the Indian bodies as well. We understand that. They're on everyone's spirit souls. We understand that. But we don't want to give up on trying to give Krishna consciousness to locals. And hopefully they could, stick with the process. But yeah, as Krishna says, it's very rare. After many, many births and deaths, he who's actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Okay, does anybody have any? Yes. Virachandra? Prabhu?
Thank you for the class. That very rare devotees in this material world, but there's some contradiction that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that all world will be chant Hare Krishna. How you can explain about it?
Yeah, it's very rare, but then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's predictions that it will be spread throughout the world, and it is spreading throughout the world. Well, you look at India. They're building a new temple every week. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but they're building a lot of temples. They're building temple Kurukshetra, they're building a temple in, was it Pandharpur, they're building a temple, I mean, Mayapur, right? It's all over, they're building temples. Also in America, I was talking with our old friend Bhishma Dev yesterday, and we were realizing how so many places in America they're building temples. Portland, building a temple. Phoenix, Tucson, San Diego, Escondido. They're going to planning to build a temple. Alachua, Orlando, New Jersey, D.C. Like they're all building temples, like big kind of temples. Of course, so. I mean, Krishna consciousness is spreading. People are taking to it. So looking at apparent contradiction that okay, well, it's very rare, but then there's a prediction that people are going to take to it. It seems that, I mean, things are getting really bad in the world. Like if you look at the news. Things are really bad. You could say there's so many. There's a environmental crisis. There's a political crisis. There is what other crisis is there? A sanity crisis, psychological crisis. There's war, there's a lot going on, and they call it like polycrisis, right? They're mixing with each other. So much mixing. Not just one. And people are very worried, especially people, statistically speaking, they did some statistics, Stanford and other place in Australia, I forgot, but especially people between 14 and 30. People under 14, somehow or other, they're not worried so much. And people over 30, they're not worried so much. Maybe because they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go at some point in the future, or the scientists will fix it, or whatever. But especially people between 14 and 30 are worried. They're in absolute anxiety. I think like 51% of them in this statistic said that humanity's doomed, 14 to 30. So, and even just the natural pleasures, you could say, of human beings, the general natural pleasures that human beings move towards. Family, for example. I mean, there are people still into family life, believe it or not. There are people still into that. Means having a family with children and that natural pleasure that humans usually engage in. People between 14 and 30, they're thinking, should I even bring a child into this world? I mean, this is just terrible. Like, how can I? So things are getting bad, and or things are bad, and they're getting worse. And therefore, the greatness of this age, which in the 11th canto, the Nava-yogendras, they're saying, there's verses that saying that this is actually the best age. Oh, how is that? Things are so terrible, Kali Yuga, right? Quarrel, hypocrisy, war. How is it the best age? And they said that those who are learned, they worship this age of Kali, because by this age one could become perfect by chanting Hare Krishna. But we see that, so things are getting really bad, but what does that do to living entities? It makes them want to call out to Krishna. That's what it does. So intelligent people, when they're seeing the nature of the world and how everything's so bad, this will inspire them to call out, to take to the Hare Krishna movement. So that's in one sense that when things become bad, people will, naturally take shelter of Krishna. So once Krishna, he spoke, right? It's very rare, but then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and could say he was freely distributing. And we have faith in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words, so.
If we see in history that people was more religious in maybe 100 years ago, even
and now it's getting worse.
This gradation,
and then
is less, and we can see that in the past, the center of the village was church.
Yeah.
But now is this big store malls.
Yeah.
And people not interested. They I don't know how to explain it. That they have many problems, but they not try to ask help God. They try to make by themselves some efforts, but and even devotees we also we have this, but maybe I speak about myself that we have this method, but we try to do something else. We not we cannot sincere to address to Krishna.
Yeah, it's like what I think it was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said something like causeless unwillingness to surrender. You're just really slow, really slow to surrender. It's stubborn. So living entities are stubborn. They may be going through so many difficulties, but they're slow to turn to Krishna. But the statements are there that Krishna consciousness will spread throughout the world, and it is, and we have faith in that, and that more and more people will take to it. So yes, Chad.
One comment first. So one thing is, remember when the pandemic came and there was all this threat. It wasn't like, oh, that's happening over there.
Yeah.
Now you can think, oh yeah, the Ukraine's happening over there and it's happening, but right here it's not happening. But that happened everywhere. And I remember we had suddenly an influx of people. You came at that time. Govardhan came at that time. And we had others come who haven't stayed. But there was suddenly it was all very real. And so people were inclined to have, search some spiritual solution, and then they became more inclined to surrender. One thing I just wanted to mention also, this is on a different tack. In the translation, I don't know if anyone was puzzled, but I was puzzled when they started measuring out the 16 transformations, 11 senses, and the 5 gross material elements like earth and water. But wait a minute, you just mentioned the Lord's 8 separated material energies. That includes earth and water. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. And so I was curious about that, and I looked it up, and they have a Bhagavatam that has commentaries by Vishnu Chakravarti and others. And this is, I have to look at the original transcript. The 11 senses and the 5, not the gross material, but what's called the tanmatras, which is sound, taste, touch. You see? Those are different than the gross material energies. They're transformations of the energies. So that's what those 11 senses and the sense objects, the knowledge acquiring objects, was sound, touch, taste, smell, and fragrance, and I forget So that just as a little note there about if anyone was puzzled by that, which I was. I guess I'm attuned to that. Not earth-shattering, but
puzzled.
Well, there's a redundancy here in the translation. Mm-hmm. The Lord's 8 separated material energies. Okay, they're earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. The 3 modes of nature. Okay, and then the 16 transformations. Bracket. The 11 senses. Okay, that's the knowledge acquiring senses and the active senses and the mind. It can be a sense. And then the gross material elements, but that's mentioned before.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, what is that? And it's not the gross material elements there. It's what's called tanmatras, which is the sound and the touch. Those are different things. So.
I see. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chad.
Hare Krishna. I'll ask a quick question. So we're currently in the 1,000 years, the golden years of Lord Chaitanya. Oh, 10,000, sorry. Thank goodness. Thank Krishna. So what is the curve look like if you consider the strength of the movement? Is it going to be getting stronger as time goes, or are we at the peak? Like, how does the curve look like over 10,000 years? Is there any prediction on that?
I've never read or heard anything where it's. Well, I mean, Bajranarayan Swami says it's in the 10,000 year periods. It's what he has this thing where it's like, oh, it's what is it, 5,000 years up, and then it plateaus, and then it's after that just down. You know, so he says something. I'm not sure what. Yeah, but I mean, generally things. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know if there's any exact description. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Very
Hare
nice
Krishna.
class and nice discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you a question. What do you think about this point that you also mentioned, and Srila Prabhupada mentions that in India there are a lot of people, building temples, but just sometimes they are doing not any program or anything, but just making money type of thing. So is it still good, or, people are benefiting or not? I don't know.
You're talking about like ISKCON temples?
No, any temple I'm talking about. They are building so many temples, but in general, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that right and left, but there's no yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, the real idea behind building the temples, okay, you have beautiful deities, you worship the deities, people, they come, they get inspired by the deity worship, and it's supposed to be a place of education. There's so many classes going on there, there's kirtans going on there. It's meant to attract people and train them in Krishna consciousness and help them become devotees. So if one just has a temple and they're just taking people's money and giving people's blessings and there's no education there, then that's not considered a very high standard of temple ultimately. There should be some education going on there, kirtans, yeah. But I can't, comment on all the temples of India and what's going on there. But at least for ourselves, the idea behind building the temple is to help people become Krishna conscious. Yeah. Does that?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
May I make some comment that about this chat question, that this is our, our choice, our free will to take part in this movement, and it depends, like we participate in it, like we, invest ourselves in this movement, then it will be grow or more fast or even finish.
Yeah.
Depends on every one person.
Hear that, Chad? Okay. All right. Granted, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.